Want to know how you can gain access to capital to jumpstart your journey to entrepreneurial success? For entrepreneurs who are just starting out or those who have been in business for years, Minority Business Access is your podcast. Welcome to our show, where we will guide you in avoiding the pitfalls and thriving in your chosen business. Now, on to the show with your host, Solomon Ali.
Amilya, I am so excited that you are here on Minority Business Access. We're here at Magnify Your Wealth. They're celebrating their 50th. I haven't seen you since December, and it's just awesome to see you.
I am excited to be here, and I'm excited to be part of the 50th. Woohoo, 50! I'm like all about it. So I am. This is a big pleasure and a big honor for me. Excited.
Yes, I mean, so many people are looking to improve their lives and things of that nature, especially when it comes to business and trying to figure out how to be successful. Tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
Listen, I think I'm like most entrepreneurs. There was no such word when I started. I was really just trying to solve problems and figure out how I was going to be able to raise my brothers and I. And so there was no grand master plan that I thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. I was really just trying to keep my brothers and I together and keep food on the table. And so I went to an area of like, what do I know how to do? So we're Italians, and so construction is what we know. We build stuff, and so that was my first kind of entree into the business world. Was I looked for an opportunity, and I was very bold because I was young, and I went to the operator who had 4 daughters and no sons, and I was like, listen, I think I can do this business better than you can. And he laughed. He was like, who are you? You're 17 years old, you don't know anything, right? But I stepped into it, and in that point in time in my life, as in youth, right, we're very rooted in we think we know. And as we get older, we realize we know nothing. But at that time, I jumped into an opportunity, and for him, I was entertainment. Right?
Okay.
He found me entertaining. He loved the fact that I was so bold on how I saw the world. But in that, and I'm dating myself, right? He gave me a job as a Girl Friday. I don't even think there's a job like that anymore. Okay. Right? So a Girl Friday was somebody who just would do whatever. And I was in the trailers in the construction site, and I started looking at the planograms that were up on the wall, and I moved things around. And I was like, this doesn't make sense if you're running a group of people, right? Because I've always had a natural instinct of how do people become their highest and best use, and what do people need in order to meet and achieve a goal, even when it's not in a normal business context.
Well, Amelia, let me ask you this. All right, I'm in business myself, okay? And I've done okay.
You've done very well. You've extremely well, actually. I hope to grow up to be you. Wait a minute, done unbelievably well, yes.
But for women
Yeah.
in business,
Yes.
I can only imagine, not being a woman, what that journey looks like, the roadblocks, the things that you're challenged with.
Yeah, and you don't know what's coming, right? You know what your heart is, and you know what your ambition is, and then you put yourself out there, and then you're usually faced with other people's fears or other people's misconception of what you are or are not capable of, because they see women a certain way, right? Or whatever your minority is, you're in a group of what their experience is with that group.
So you don't let it affect you, their biases affect you, you just steam through it.
You learn to get a thick skin, and you learn to anticipate it, right? And then you learn mechanisms to move around it and stop expecting it not to happen, right? So I know that in some course of business, even today, something is going to happen that is inappropriate just between a man and a woman. It's my responsibility to then say, okay, listen, no problem, that doesn't work for me, so let me just put a boundary up and gently move you back to where you need to be, and to stop expecting that it's not going to happen, right? I can't control the world and say, okay, someday this will never happen. So it's going to happen.
So let me see if I understand correctly. Your advice to women would be, okay, expect men to flirt or
Yep.
do those
Yep.
things, but it's how you handle and deal with that
How you respond to it.
situation, how you respond to it, that determines that true outcome.
Correct.
Wow.
You can't stop people from trying,
Okay.
right? Because the instinct is still going to be there. And, you know, yes, as the world evolves and as we learn healthy boundaries, but it's still going to happen. It's not the majority, it's the minority of people that are going to happen, right? You're going
Right.
to find that one jerk, right? And he's going to do whatever he's going to do, and you have to guide him back onto his side, right? But don't allow it to deter you from where you're trying to go.
So you actually take the possession
Of power.
of power. Is that consciously or subconsciously?
I think it's both, right? Subconsciously, I am looking to earn the achievements and the respect to be seen at a certain level. So subconsciously, I'm looking for that recognition to be seen as a very good CEO and leader, right? Not to be saying, oh, she's a great CEO for a woman, right? So that quip it for a woman, you just took away the compliment, right?
Okay.
Let the work stand for itself. But in the journey to get there, you have to also really be rooted in your belief system and your core values and be willing to defend them. So, I mean, a great example of that is in, you know, one of my roles in media. The way women were treated didn't meet my core values. And I was tested repeatedly. I repeatedly kept not getting the outcome that I was looking for, even though I had a lot of tools.
Okay.
And so I had eventually put my money where my mouth was, and I bought myself out of the contract. I'm like, this does not work. I don't care how great the opportunity is. This doesn't work for me. I cannot continue in this atmosphere because I don't like it how it's affecting me, and I don't like the way how it's affecting other women here. So I'm going to make a very hard decision and leave.
So you were in a contract. Contract didn't feel good. You elected, okay, I'll buy myself out of a contract.
Yes. The other unsaid
Wow.
things that were required of me as a female doesn't work for me. It doesn't.
Wow.
It's not who I am.
You know, I know that your family lived in Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Yes.
And you were sharing some experiences with us.
I'm a Georgia peach. I'm a Georgia peach. Yes.
So would you share that experience? And I was speaking about the one where the cross was burned in your yard.
Yes. Yes. Well, you know, my family being Italian, you know, off the boat Italian, moving to Georgia, right? So we didn't even know really what that meant, the South, right? And then more specifically moving to Stone Mountain, Georgia, which is the capital of the KKK, for anybody who does not know their history. We saw ourselves as Italians. And we just made the assumption that everybody else would see us as Italians. But Italians were not really like well known, and there was not a lot of us in the late 60s, early 70s in Atlanta, right? There was really two groupings. There was African American or black, and there was white. That was the two groupings that were available for us to kind of fit into in that area. And so we moved into a white neighborhood without realizing that that neighborhood saw us as black.
Wow.
And they did not want us there. And again, not really understanding, but even the vernacular was. So in Europe, black and white, that's not really a thing. It's a very American thing. Okay. And my father is very dark. My mother is very light, and they saw them as a interracial couple, and they saw us as mixed.
But your father is Italian.
He's Italian, and my mother's Italian. Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, we see them as Italian, but the community saw something entirely differently, and they wanted us to leave. They were highly offended that we didn't move into Gwinnett County. We moved into DeKalb County, and so to try to help us move, in the middle of the night, they burnt this huge cross on right down by our mailbox on our front yard. And because we didn't have the experience, we didn't understand what that actually meant, my mother decided to turn it into a positive, and she was like, oh my gosh, they're so excited, wake up everybody, they're so excited that we're here, we're gonna go roast marshmallows on the cross because they know we're Catholic, so they put a cross on our front yard. And so we thought it was a welcoming thing. I had no idea until years later when I was studying American history. I was a sophomore in high school, and they were talking about, you know, the South and the Civil War and all this stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, that had happened to me, you know. And so it was just, it changed my entire trajectory of these subgroupings and what happens when you just blanket a whole group of people into one bucket.
You know what I find so amazing with that story that you're sharing is how your mother turned something that could have been
tragic.
Right, exactly. To something that was so beautiful and positive to protect her kids so that they would not be affected by that.
The negativity.
And it's like, wow, just to know, I would hope that with my kids or grandson, that if they ever encounter, or anybody I know in business or anywhere in life, that they encounter something negative, that I would be able to turn it around so they can see the positive. So right now, your mother's my hero for doing that.
Well, and that's really the art of power, right?
Yes.
Being able to hold your power. You can't stop what somebody's going to think or what somebody's going to do. But what you can do is control your response to it. And when you can control your response, especially in something that is racist, you know, something that is just limiting beliefs and ignorance on somebody else's side, coming back in a powerful position like that is a skill set that transcends generations, right? It's not just what you do, it's what everybody that you're impacting, and your children and your children's children, right? That's the epigenetics part of it. In our DNA, we are setting the tone for future generations. And so what we do matters tremendously.
You know, I'm gonna share a story with you, and I don't think I've shared this story in a mighty long time, and it just came to me after sharing your story. I was in an art class in about 9th grade, and I believe my art teacher's name was Miss Bacon. And we all had to draw the faces of everyone. And so all these freshmen and things of that nature is in this art class. And so when they got to me, the kids made fun. It was all white kids, no blacks in the class except for me. And so they made fun of my nose and my lips.
Oh, wow.
And the teacher, Miss Bacon, intervened so quickly. And I guess, at the moment, I almost felt like crushed.
Yeah.
But how she intervened, and she said, no, let's look at his features. Look how beautiful those lips are. Look at the structure of it. And she turned that around. And I didn't feel what I was feeling after they were making fun of me anymore. I felt, better. You know, I still remember it, but it was like, if it wouldn't have been for her,
yes,
I could have went off that day and had a really bad day, or been like, I hate this school, or why am I here, and all those kind of things. But one person can make a difference.
And it happens all the time. And when you start to realize that you have that power and we don't engage in it, right? So the person that you bump into when you get coffee, the person that, you know, you're passing by in the hallway, by not stepping forward into a leadership role and taking that control to impact their day with a smile, with a compliment, with reaching across, right, to try to connect with somebody. Most people are sheep. They're going to just put their head down and go through their day 9 to 5, and they're really not willing to take the responsibility of leadership. But if you really want to lead people, if you're really looking to have an impact on the world, then you have to take the step into vulnerability to reach across and make the first move, because 99% of the time when you smile, somebody will smile back. Okay. When you cause a compliment, they'll engage.
Let me see if that works. Okay.
It does.
Yes.
And it puts you in a power to really realize that you have a lot to do with what happens to you by what you're putting out, and then the boundaries and guidelines for what doesn't work for you. Right? So, you know, I teach something called the ouch moment, right? And it doesn't matter how old you are, you know, or what language you speak, or what grouping that you're in. If you're in a conversation and I just go, ouch, right? You're going to go, what?
What?
What happened here, right? But it brings you into awareness that something just happened. And then it gives me an opportunity to go, hey, listen, that really hurt my feelings. And a natural response would be, I didn't intend to hurt. I don't even know how I hurt your feelings. But now we're in a dialogue so that you can better understand me and I can better understand you, and we can figure out, is there something I could have done differently? Is there something you can done differently? And now we've got connection.
So now, Amelia, you've worked with a lot of very successful people.
Yes.
Tyler Perry, Oprah,
Steve Harvey, just I can go on. Steve,
all right.
Yeah, all of those
how about
people.
you go?
Yes, lots and lots and lots of,
Okay,
yes.
and you solved a lot of problems for various people.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your genius, is being able to connect, listen, and I don't want to try to articulate it because I can't. I want you to articulate what is that genius, because for me, when I hear it, what I hear is like, oh, she's a hell of a negotiator. She listens, she pays attention, and she knows exactly what to ask because she knows that she's going to stump them or get to the core of what that is.
I think my genius, that's a great question. I think my genius is I am truly a people expert. I really fundamentally, I've spent 35 years in human behavior and getting underneath what is happening. And so understanding how people show up and what the dynamic is when two people get together, three people together, right? There's always a different architect depending on how many people are in the room of what's happening. And what I've learned about business is that you can have a great idea and you can have a great business plan, but if you don't have the people to execute it, it's going nowhere. And so
I agree.
all business, right, has to pay attention to the people operating system, because if you can really understand people and you can align the purpose of the business with people who have the same trajectory of that purpose, magic happens.
Wow.
Magic happens. And so what I've always done for people of influence and athletes and celebrities and big CEOs is I've helped them see their own reflection. And in that reflection, they see what makes them a genius, and then they see what the shadow energy that comes from that, right? With every blessing, there's a curse. And in the tool building, it allows them to better connect with the individuals that are on their team and help a company take all the individuals within an organization and bring them together agnostically, because we remove sight and we only allow for experience.
That is totally amazing. You know, we buy a lot of companies, invest in a lot of companies, and sometimes changing the culture of those companies and their people. And although what they were a part of before was failing, we come in, we may pay them more, and we've done it all kinds of ways. We pay them more, we get crap. We pay them less, we get crap. Okay? And every once in a while we get it right, but that culture is always so difficult to get them to buy into the vision, to buy into where the company is going and things like that. And so many times they like to say, I like the old way.
Right.
But the old way wasn't working.
So that comes from behavior now, so all humans, inside the surviving instinct, one of the very first primary things that we learn is we are more rooted into the devil we know, right? We're more rooted into what we're familiar with, and we will actually repel anything else that is unfamiliar. And that's where so much conflict and crisis happens, because people are holding so tightly to what they do know, even if what they know is damaging. And so the way to move people from where they are to where is a better opportunity is to allow them to release what's in this hand by filling what's on this hand. But you cannot take away until I'm willing to reach here. And so it's in a culture that is unhealthy, right, to fight against fear, because right, change is fear-based. People are afraid of change. And so you've got to have them reach forward onto something that they believe that they can hold on to. And in this safety and security, I will let go of my false belief. And so that's part of succession planning and change management, is if the people operating system isn't working with the new team coming in, it will never work. It'll be a short-time fix, and then people will revert back to their old behavior.
That is amazing. I think you just helped me make the next million. Okay. Oh, that was amazing. And I hope everyone is able to actually retain that, because I'm going to play that back many times. Now, in working with Oprah, what did you do for her?
She was doing a series at the time of like millionaire moms, moms that had taken an idea and made $1 million businesses in it. And just in being part of that, what was happening before and after the show, for my 2 cents, was more entertaining than what was actually happening during the recording. And so she gave me some very good advice. During that segment, it was supposed to be, I was really supposed to stay in the audience, and it ended up that I was featured on the show. And then from that, I was like, wow, the after show is really where the gems are. And she was like, so what are you saying? I'm like, I think you should really create an after show. So we helped do the treatment for the after show, which became part of Right After Oprah, which is the entrance into her digital scale, right? It's being able to identify that genius moment, right? Identify that very focused, the thing that will scale. And that is, again, it's always related to the people behavior, watching what was going on in the audience, working with Steve Harvey, seeing that what his genius is across lots of different mediums, and then being able to really narrow that down to stop the distractions and scale the brand based on what he does better than anybody else, and help other people who, for their own reasons, are trying to stop him from doing that, right? I mean, one of the deals that we were working on in the negotiations, they were saying, well, we really love Steve, but if we can make him just a little less funny. And I'm like, funny is what he does, right? So the minute you make him not funny, you've just ruined the entire brilliance of right? He's got an amazing ability to take everyday situations, I don't care what the situation is, and make it hysterical. Wow. That's his gift. Okay. And so everything that he does has to celebrate that gift, or it's the wrong fit.
Gotcha.
And most CEOs or leaders cannot see themselves well enough to understand what is that one thing that they do that nobody else can do. And then how do you build what we call the titanium circle around them to amplify that over and over and over again. And that's the beauty of scale.
So let me ask you, you have this new thing you came out with.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm gonna call it genius.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And so, tell me how that works and what that means. I'm asking a whole bunch of questions right here. How does it work?
Yep.
What does it mean in the future that we're living in currently, moving forward?
So what I noticed over 35 years in business is, I've spent a good portion of my time in crisis and conflict management. And every crisis, every conflict, every kind of bad deal.
So you have me on the edge of my seat.
Right.
I'm really paying attention.
Was really rooted in hurt and pain, right? And what I've seen as a pattern is that there is an abundant amount of hurt and pain trapped within our companies, trapped within our communities, trapped within our families, is really, when you peel it all back, pain.
Wow.
And as we went into this universal reset, it became every fiber in my being started screaming as loud as I can't even explain it to you, that I needed to do something to heal the pain trapped within businesses. Okay. But there is no tool to allow it to happen. And as a behaviorist, what I know for a fact is that every human, no matter who you are, your subconscious believes your last best experience or your last worst experience. And no amount of data is going to change what that last experience means to you.
So what you're saying, if I experience something good, an acquisition, my subconscious seeks to repeat that?
Yes, so if you If your pattern is that when you have a very strong female involved, that the deal is a good deal, then you believe that working with strong females is a good thing. Even if I give you data and say, no, actually men have a higher success rate, doesn't matter. You believe what your experience has told you.
Wow.
Right? And if that experience is negative, so if you work with women and in the last deal that you worked on, the woman who was the CFO tanked the deal, then you believe women are bad with numbers. And there's no data that's going to change your mind. You remember the last best or the last worst. And
so is that right or is it wrong?
It's that's your story, right? Your story is your perception. And so there is no right or wrong. You
Really?
believe the story that you tell yourself. And that's what you're rooted in. So it has nothing to do with me at all. It's all within you.
So I'm just writing a script.
You're writing a script. Absolutely. You're subconsciously writing the story of your life. And you maneuver based on your belief system. And the only way you're going to change your beliefs if you have an experience that is counter to your belief. So if you have an experience, you're like, wait a minute, I thought women were horrible with numbers, and look just what happened. Well, now you believe the experience.
So that's what you were saying a little bit earlier, is that you have to give them something else to reach for.
Yes.
So that they can let go over here.
Exactly. A new
Wow.
experience to hold on to that they believe in. So I can't give you my story. I have to give you your own story.
That is amazing, that in a matter of moments, how quickly you were able to get me to understand that and be able to see it just by what you were sharing. Because the last story you were just sharing with me, I went back to your previous thing that you had shared and said, hey, you have to let this fear go and give them something else to reach for.
In their language that has
Wow.
meaning to them. And what happens in an organization, what happens into any relationship that has conflict, I'm trying to give you my story, I'm trying to give you my belief. But if you have nothing to hold on to that validates that belief, you don't believe me.
Gotcha.
Right? I have to tell you
Wow.
in your language,
Okay.
right? And that's what creates movement and growth. And so when I started to look at the operating system for people within an organization, it's unhealthy. It does not work. It's never worked, and it creates conflict. And the reason why it creates conflict, that because you cannot remove your biases, right? What you believe, right? Because it's rooted on best or worst experience. So how do you pair the workload, the workflow, to people without your biases getting involved?
So I want to back up. Is this what made you successful where you license, I believe, the technology to Listerine?
Everything that I have done has been rooted on this process and this methodology that I have learned over time about people, because I'm in a crisis, right? You're trying to maneuver a lot of people into one common goal in a very short period of
But
time.
were you aware that you had this genius and you were working it, or you were unaware?
I started to become aware of the tools that we were giving people, that no matter who we gave them to, it caused movement, right? So as it started to cause movement and as it started to heal, right? I started to watch it heal. I started watching two adversarials, like two people who absolutely hated each other and refused to move on a deal, right? And costing a lot of money because they literally just were going at each other. And I would come into it and I would completely diffuse the situation by addressing the individuals in their own language, in what had meaning to them.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
And then explaining that so that if for some reason, if you were very negatively wired to me, if I changed and said, wait a minute, I think what I'm hearing here is that you don't want to give up the relationship with X in the business. And you were like, no, it's not that, it's this. This is what's important to me. And then realize that for me, that thing has no importance to me. Something is very, very different that's important to me. And stop arguing about all of it, because
Right.
it's one thing that is causing the conflict. It's one misfire that then we project, oh, it's everything, right? So when something bad happens, like the whole world sucks, right? Everybody hates me. Well, it's never that. It's usually one small thing, and then we amplify it.
Okay.
And so that's what I was always trying to do, is get under it.
Now, so your success, You went to, I believe it was in Europe, you went to this medical conference,
yeah.
and you saw this great technology, or can you explain how did you make that successful? What triggered in your mind to say, hey, this makes sense?
Right. Well, I never know if my ideas make sense. They make sense to me, right? And so they make sense to me, and some of those ideas have gone very well, and some of those ideas not so much, right? It's a matter of honing your instinct, right? So I was asked to speak at a medical conference. That alone was confusing to me because there was no reason why I should be at a medical conference. So I was like, I don't even know how I got booked for this. But I move through the world with a fundamental belief that you are where you're supposed to be,
right,
even if you're not sure why you're there.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I have no idea why I'm here, but there must be a reason. And so I just took a look at the itinerary and I just said, okay, I'm going to sign up for a couple of these little workshops because I don't speak till tomorrow anyway, and just try to maximize my time to say there's a reason why I'm here, I just need to find it. And in one of the workshops, there was a doctor at the front of the room. Him and his team had created a patented technology that addressed for old people who can't swallow pills. They created like this little piece of plastic that melted on your tongue that delivered medicine. So it was a medical delivery system for old people.
Okay.
And so I was like, how cool is that? It'd be great because then I don't have to chew gum and I can freshen my breath, right? So since chewing gum just doesn't look very feminine, but I'd like to have good breath. And so I was like, if I could just put breath freshener on there, that would be a great idea for mass consumer goods. So I was like, hey, how much is it for a license for North America? I would like to use it in OTC, which is over the counter. And they were like, listen, little lady, this is a highly sophisticated medical delivery system. I'm like, yeah, I got that, and that's super cool. But I'm really kind of looking to solve a really simple problem. So my ideas always have been very simple, that solves a problem for a mass amount of people.
Wow.
But it's very simple things.
So where did you go from there?
So I acquired the license, and I took the license and sold it to Dr. Fresh, and then Dr. Fresh sold it to Listerine.
Wow.
So it was just a licensing deal. I mean, I didn't invent anything. It was literally just a licensing deal.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I was an investor. I'm still an investor. I didn't invent anything, but I saw something. I invested in it,
yes.
And we licensed it all over the place.
Yeah. And so that's what so I took a patent that was in a different category and helped them bring it into a category of where it wouldn't have been before, so and then that's what
different
happened.
Application
Absolutely.
for it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. That is totally amazing.
But really to solve a very simple problem. I just wanted really nice breath. That was really kind of the only
So
thing.
It was a problem that you identified with yourself, but
yes.
the massive said, hey, I like that.
Yeah, chomping on gum just never looked very feminine, so I was like, well, there you go.
And to be honest, tell it the truth, I liked it too. I was like, oh, okay, when it first came out, take that little thing and just stick it up there. I was like, okay, cool. So that was really neat.
So all of my successes have always been solving a problem that I thought applied across the globe. No different than the Genius Key. I see a problem, I see pain that's trapped, the old systems don't work. We have to come back from this universal reset better as humans than we were before, because that's actually what happened. If you take a look over the last 20 years, we've had lots of indications that we're not treating people well, right? And just before COVID, people were so angry. They hated their jobs, they hated their boss, they hated their neighbors, they hated everything. Everybody hated everybody. And so the universe said, okay, since you hate everybody, we're going to isolate you in your homes. Nobody can go anywhere. And now what are we saying? Now we're saying, I want to, that person that I'd never wanted to see at I would die to go back to my office. I just want to get back to people, right? So we had to be reset to realize that everything matters. Every human matters. And the value of connection. Like, what do we all starve for right now is connection.
Yes.
And so how are we going to go back into the businesses, go back into our communities with a better operating system so that we don't repeat the mistake?
Well, now, Amilya, one of the things I noticed in the program that you have is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of takes away the racist aspect, discrimination versus if you're older or young or whatever.
Yes, all of it.
And so Can you speak to that for me?
Sure. It's so on one side of it, right, is the actual work that a company has to get done in order for it to achieve its goals, right? So the work gets decoded into the keys, the genius keys, for that project to succeed, right? So the desired outcome of every individual project within the vision has keys assigned to it. On the other side, all of the individuals within the company also get decoded with what their natural genius is, and they get keys. The matrix does a match between the work and the desired outcome that the team leader's looking for, and everybody within the company that has a matching key. Now, as an individual, I get prompted on my dashboard to say, all of these projects match your genius. And I can go, okay, this one wants my innovation key, this one wants my strategy key, this one wants my sales key. So I know why I've been called onto a project. Now I can examine all the parameters, how fast the project needs to be done, how many people are on the team, and see if it feels good to me. And if it does, and I say, yes, I'm interested in this project, now it knows I'm a female.
So that's speeding up the efficiency.
Huge.
Profit margin.
Tons.
That's tremendous.
And the emotional well-being of the people. When you put people on work that they do naturally, that they feel good at, right? They get the sense of community like they never done before. Most people want to achieve. Most people want to be seen, heard, recognized, and valued for their contribution. But if I give them work that doesn't fit their genius, then they feel bad. They feel like I worked so hard on that, and then you go, well, that's not what I intended, that's not what I wanted. And so you've got all this pain trapped in a business unintentionally, right? Unintentionally. You get inside of a division in a company, and you're never gonna see all of the possibilities.
So it's like you're unlocking all the energy.
Everything.
Wow.
So the negative vibrations that unintentionally happens in a company, right, we are removing. The guesswork, spray and pray. People assign work to somebody who just happens to be there or worked late or I think you'll get it done, and I give you a work.
I have to interrupt you just for a sec. So you got this company, it's got all these people in it.
Yep.
It's got assignments that need to be done.
Yep.
I might need something done and compliance.
Yep.
So your dashboard sits back and says, oh, okay, here's this person here has the key for compliance.
Right.
And
highly detailed, right, fact finding, data supporting, right, their natural ability is to go down deep on something and to verify facts, right, they're checking.
And so that person may have been
an admin.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so I had all this energy within my company. Mm-hmm. I had this gift already there.
Yep, didn't see it,
didn't know it was there. And so here come Amelia with this genius thing, and I get to see this dashboard, and it unlocks all this energy.
Right. So now a CEO is like, I need this done Monday morning. I need this project to move very fast. It's not going to be 100% accurate because I only have a short period of time. So it's going to be 70% accurate. And so it shows me everybody in the company that can give me my outcome.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So there's no more guessing.
So how did you come up with this?
Because I was watching so much misalignment. People who were giving projects to the wrong person, setting the wrong outcome for like so much discord in a company because people guess, right? And you're basing it on your biases. Or what happens is if I'm an admin, but my true passion is to be in sales.
So you're talking the hierarchy hires the wrong person
all the time
for the task.
Right. Or I come because I really want to work for your company, but the only job you have open right now is an admin. So I'm going to take that job because it's a foot in the door. But now statistics tell you that whatever your foot in the door is, you'll never get to another department because now you're an admin and you're coded as admin. So the guy who's hiring over there doesn't even see you. He's going to hire from the outside. And so the right job in the right order for the right all of that has been messed up, and it's been messed up for years because I give the project to my false belief system, not the reality of what you're capable of. And so if you're young, you don't get assigned to certain
You're
projects.
really good. You're really good.
It's just a big problem, right?
You broke it down and you made it so simple to understand, to digest, and say, hey, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, and so now you give full power to the individual. There's no way that I can say you're not developing me, because I can take the work that I have keys for, or if I have a desire that I want to go work over in a different department that I don't have a key for, your dashboard will show you the learning program, that you go through the learning program and then you get that key. So I can develop myself as much or as little as I want to. Right? I can take on as much or as little projects as I want. So all of the accusations of my employer doesn't develop me because I'm a woman, or because I'm old, or because I'm young, all of that is gone.
Okay, we got to wrap it up.
Okay.
So your vision
Yes.
for this project is what? Please share that.
To heal pain. If I can go into organizations and set up so that people no longer unintentionally cause conflict and pain to each other and within the organization. That was the point, to heal pain.
That is amazing. So that solves a huge problem in our society. It helps companies to become more proficient and efficient on what they're doing, and it allows a better workplace, a work environment, and people to feel better about themselves.
And it allows us to have an experience without our biases. So we're going to work we're going to work together, and you're going to go, I never realized that actually women are really good at this, because we come into the project blind. You don't know who I am, I don't know who, and then we pop on a project. And so now we get a real experience with each other where we never would have worked together ever before, because I'm in my own way. And so it brings people together blindly for a desired outcome.
So Amelia, and us wrapping up, is there anything that you would like to say and share? Anything at all?
I think what I would want to share with people more than anything else is something is always happening. And what is happening is not what you think it is.
Wow.
And so that pain that you feel, or that emptiness that you feel, or not being seen, or not being recognized, that negativity, what you think is happening on the other side is not the same story. So seeking to understand and taking these tools so you get your power back so that you can show up at your highest and best self. Every situation, there's something you could have done differently, and you're only in control of your side.
That is so mind-boggling to me. That is so mind-boggling. Amelia, I would like to ask you, if someone was interested in finding out more about your project and what's going on so that they can possibly invest in it and take a look at it and everything of that nature, how would they reach you?
Any social channels, if you can spell my name, you can find me. amilya.com, amelia.com, or geniuskey.com.
Amelia, thank you so much for coming on to Minority Business Access. Greatly appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Minority Business Access podcast. Connect with us at solomonrcali.info to leave a review and access more resources. We hope you enjoyed this show and found great value. See you at the next episode.